Welcome to Pretty Practical Podcast with your host, Stephanie B. We're talking kingdom transformation through practical revelation.
Transforming lives everywhere through revelation and power of prayer. Solving problems day by day, and we do it the kingdom way.
Welcome to Season 2 of Pretty Practical Podcast. I'm your host, Stephanie B. And on this episode, we're talking kingdom transformation through practical revelation. As always, thank you for tuning in. My hope is that something will be said that will encourage you and bless you. There are millions of podcasts, but you've chosen mine. This isn't a hobby, it's more of a mandate from God for me. My heart is postured toward kingdom transformation. An internal alarm is going off, and I got to do my part. Honestly, I'm still figuring things out. One thing about following Christ is he likes to give instructions without giving all the details at once. So at this point, I just say, yes, Lord, and keep it moving. It's time to do what we've been called to do and do it boldly. Now isn't the time to back down or run in fear. It's time for each of us to arise. Arise means to ascend, mount up, or move to a higher place. How do you prepare for the mountaintop? I lived in Japan for several years, and before leaving, I decided to climb Mount Fuji, the highest mountain in Japan. Excited and ready for the challenge, I rented my hiking boots and trekking poles. My bag was packed with water and snacks. And although I left with a group, it was very much a solo hike for me. Now that I've kind of painted a picture, let's get into this hike, okay? Because it started off almost like a zig-zag trail in the beginning. I really thought that making it to the top was a possibility. Everything was cool and calm. I got my souvenir walking stick stamp at each station and enjoyed the warmth of the sun, but that joy gradually faded. Climbing into the clouds, it became harder to breathe. The trekking pole slowly became a distraction and too heavy for me to carry. The zigzag of the mountain expired, and I was forced to climb this mountain for real. But the final straw for me is when the wind picked up and I looked to my right and saw how close to death I could be. An executive decision was made. I'm gonna go ahead and head back down this mountain because mentally I was not prepared to make it to the top. And missing the bus was not an option for me. And after releasing a few choice words, it was time to descend. Silently, I cried, Lord, help me. Help me, Lord. And after a quick glance to my left, my eyes locked in with this short Japanese man. It was as if we could read each other's thoughts. I wasn't the only one turning around. He was turning around too. And when the burn of my legs overcame me and I couldn't get comfortable, so I had to stop to rest, this Japanese man would stop and rest with me. We didn't speak the same language, just a simple smile, realizing that God was answering my prayer and that he had sent me help. That man stuck with me the entire time. It took a few hours for both of us to make it back down, but when we finally made it back down to the base of the mountain, he bowed and I waved, and we each went along our way. I knew that God heard my cry, and he sent me an angel that day. And to this day, this story has a special place in my heart. Fast forward, it would take years for me to understand the lesson behind my Mount Fuji encounter. Looking back now, I know that God was giving me a natural glimpse at where I was spiritually, a desire to succeed, but not prepared for the task ahead. To arise in the kingdom of God, you must be disciplined. Back then, I was tender and easily moved by the cares of life, bound by fear and close to death. Yet his hand wouldn't leave me, and he was willing to train me through the trials and help equip me so I could arise. May I encourage you today? Don't allow the fear of climbing your mountain keep you from ascending. Yes, there will be strong winds, but your climbing isn't supposed to be in your own strength. When it gets heavy and your legs feel weak and begin to hurt, the Lord will gladly give you rest. Arise. Your faith can move mountains. Your stretching is building endurance. Your opposition won't be able to stop you. When you reach the peak, you'll be able to say, I did it without compromise. The world doesn't care how they win. The goal is just to win. But for kingdom transformation, you must follow the instructions of the King. My prayer for you today is that you will remain disciplined in the preparation. Your mountain won't overtake you. Arise. You're meant to sit in the high place. You can't get there if you quit. I'm rooting for you.
Thank you for tuning in to Pretty Practical Podcast with your host, Stephanie B. Be sure to catch us again and be transformed through practical revelation, the kingdom way.
Transforming lives, everywhere, through revelation and power of prayer, solving problems day by day, and we do it the kingdom way.